Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion, and I missed a day. Yes, Friday was the 23rd. You are getting this on the 24th. That means we got two Psalms to talk about today. And I think these two go together quite well. And actually, I think they go with 22 that we did the other day. I really wanted to try to get a recording in on Friday. It just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. I think I'd shared with you that I was fighting a cold this week. I was just glad to get through the fourth day of training that I was leading on Friday, and I did. And then Friday afternoon, um, it was crazy. Took my dog to the groomer. This is Lucy, my dog, and got a battery for my daughter. Her car needed one, so it's kind of a busy afternoon. But here we are, recording because, well, I found another TV show. I'll talk to you about that here in just a moment after we begin, as we always begin, by recognizing, realizing, celebrating, and affirming that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. Yeah, I've shared here before many times, I think, that I am not a huge screen watching TV or a movie fan these days. I have to be really drawn into something. And I have to be mindful and selective because I would much rather write or record or read rather than just sit in front of a screen in the evening or downtime, right? I found this show. It actually came out in 2014, so it's not a new show. It's called The Leftovers, and I'm really intrigued by it. I'll probably talk more about it as it goes. I found it because a couple of guys who do a podcast, um, and they were podcasts that I was listening to for Pluribus and more recently Severance, and actually back a while back for Westworld. I really like what they have to say, and I like their interactions with each other. I think the podcasts that are so common these days with people, two people, three people, four people, whatever, talking to each other where you can feel like you're part of a conversation, right? You can't join in the conversation, but you're listening and you're participating in that way. I think if they're interesting and thoughtful and smart and maybe funny people, it can be really worthwhile and rewarding. And then you find people that you like and their personalities and so forth. And anyway, these two guys, I really like what they have to say about those shows that I mentioned. Also, Andor was another one. But what I and when they suggested this leftover show, now, they've been talking about it now. It's already finished years ago, 3 seasons, and they put it into a category of really no other show. Like what they say about it, how they rave about it a few years in retrospect was really enticing. So I had to watch, and I'm drawn in through the first episode. I may be preempting some of my writing because of this. That is what seems to happen when I find a show. And just understand that I am watching because there's something thought provoking, something interesting. It's not just throw away your mind kind of entertainment. I don't really find that interesting or useful or attractive. What I do find interesting, useful, and helpful are shows that really make us think, right? And this show clearly seems to be. All right, let's talk about Psalms 22 and 20, or excuse me, 23 and 24. Now, 23, of course, is the top of the dogs, top of the hill, top of the pops, top of the Psalms in familiarity. And also, I would say probably in usage, right? I mean, it seems like it is probably, I don't know, the number one psalm that is picked for funerals, memorial, celebrations of life, even probably by people that are not particularly religious, because it's that familiar. So here is the psalm in the First Nations version. And I like the way they have translated it here because it is a psalm that already has a lot of natural elements to it. And it lends itself, I think, well to a First Nations and Indigenous rendering of it. And I also think it's interesting because some of the things that we get in a traditional or typical translation, he anoints my head with oil, my cup overflows, he set my place in the way of my enemies. I don't know that they make that much sense to us, really. Like, what does that mean? And I think this translation captures some of those things, at least in a way that maybe opens our minds or our thoughts to it. So here it is. Grandfather is my shepherd, my lodge will always have plenty. He gives me rests in fields of tender sweetgrass and guides me near quiet and peaceful waters. Through these good medicines, he brings strength to my body and healing to my soul. He shows me the good way to walk with firm steps on the road of life to bring honor to his name. Even if my path takes me through the canyon of darkness and gloom, I will fear no evil, for you are close by my side, keeping my eyes straight, my path safe. Your walking stick and chief staff bring comfort and peace to me. You prepare a great feast for me as my enemies watch. You honor me with a headdress of many feathers. My cup is filled to overflowing with life giving water. Your goodness and love, which remain strong and true, will chase after me on the path of life all of my days. Grandfather's longhouse will always be my home. So it's such a familiar set of just six verses. So very brief, right? And again, the imagery, the comfort, the care, the at homeness that the psalmist states. So let's talk about 24 and how 22, 23, and 24, I think, fit together. So 24 is in a unique category because it is very clear in the second part of it that we're dealing with probably a song that was actually sung at a certain ritualistic moment. And we get a clue as to what that moment is at the beginning of the verses. And it is this idea of going up to the temple, right? Up to the place where God is believed to dwell, the place where sacrifices are made to God, this holy place. And you can hear this call and response really in the latter part of the psalm as the faithful go to this place. So this psalm is really very much about a place, a very specific place. But I think there's kind of a twist to it at the beginning. In the very opening verse, I think it is kind of putting a twist to it, which I'll kind of come back to at the end. But here is Psalm 24, again, quite short, just 10 verses. Mother Earth and all she gives birth to belong to grandfather, grandmother. All the world and those who live on it are God's. God formed the land on the ancient deep waters and shaped the solid ground unto the rivers. Who is permitted to go up grandfather, grandmother's sacred mountain? Who can stand without shame before God in the holy place? Only those with no blood on their hands, whose hearts are pure, who keep their inward thoughts free from lies and never make false promises. They will come away with grandfather, grandmother's blessing. They will have good standing in the sight of the one who sets them free and makes them whole. This is the generation whose honor it is to seek your face, O great spirit of heel grabber, Jacob. And then we get a drum beat here. I didn't get my drum out. It's late. Don't want to wake anyone up. Here's that call and response. Lift high your heads, O gatekeepers. Be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the chief of shining greatness may come in. Who is this bright, shining chief? He is grandfather, grandmother, strong and mighty, chief of all spirit warriors. Lift high your heads, O gatekeepers. Be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the chief of shining greatness may come in. Who is this bright, shining chief? He is grandfather, grandmother, chief of all spirit warriors. So there's that call and response, right? You can hear the two sides, and it really almost sounds like, knock, knock, open up, who is it? Right? Kind of almost a knock, knock joke, I guess, going on. So what is the twist in it? Well, the twist, I think, is in the beginning, the very first couple of verses. This idea of Mother Earth and all she gives birth to belong to grandfather, grandmother. So there's this theme that runs through many Psalms of this sacredness, the holiness of the created earth, all of what is on it. And it seems, again, it kind of is, it seems like in that particular opening, like it's the broadness of the earth, the credibility of grandfather, God formed the land, and then there's this sacred mountain. So within this sacred, created earth, Mother Earth, right, there is this specifically sacred place that people can go to, right? So, how do these three Psalms fit together? Well, I think they are the human experience, right? Because in 22, which we talked about on Thursday, um, my God, why have you forsaken me? And all of the desolation and absolute suffering that we hear in that psalm, that's very human, right? And that desire for retribution, smite my enemies, and so forth. And there's very much times in our life, I think, when we feel those things. There's also, though, what we hear in Psalm 23, where we feel this comfort, we feel this difficulty, the dark valley, the dark canyon that we're walking through. We hear in Psalm 22, right? And yet we know God is with us, that God goes before us, that God is with us. And then in 24, it is more specific about what is this place? Who is this God, the creator of everything? There is this place. And how do we see God, right? And I think the line that sticks out to me that is about like who can see God. It talks about who can go up the holy mountain. That said, if we take the psalmist seriously, that all of the earth is sacred, who can experience that sacred nature? Who can experience grandfather, grandmother? Well, we are told in verse 4 of 22, Psalm 24, only those with no blood on their hands, whose hearts are pure, who keep their inward thoughts free from lies and never make false promises. So people who haven't hurt others, right? And if they have, metaphorically confessed or washed the blood from their hands, right? Whose hearts are pure. Purity of heart is in sort of the biblical tradition, being able to not be distracted, not be cluttered by, worthless, idolatric, idols and the like, who keep their inward thoughts free from lies. Again, following the truth, following what is, not deception. And then lastly, who never make false promises. People who are humble, people who are truthful and honest and reliable and committed. So again, y'all, I think there is great wisdom in all of the Psalms, and especially these three forming this kind of unit that is a very memorable unit. Again, you probably heard parts of 24 as well, but similar themes to what we're going to find throughout all the Psalms. So, all right, I do plan on Sunday getting Psalm, that would be the 25th, getting that done for you tomorrow. We're about to get slammed by a snowstorm here in central Ohio. So starting tomorrow evening, it's going to kind of be, you know, snowbound, I think, for a day or so. So definitely hope to be feeling better from my cold, but also to have some time and some space to write and reflect and to share with you. All right, y'all. I want to close with a different prayer today as I find it here on my Kindle. This is from the Celtic Book of Days, and I really like this. This came up, let's see, this is actually from the 22nd, and I think this is a good prayer for our times. It says, peace between believers, peace between neighbors, peace between lovers in love with the King of life, peace between person and person, peace between wife and husband, peace between parents and children, the peace of Christ above all peace. So may the peace of Christ be energizing to us, to give us hope, to give us faith, to give us courage in these difficult, challenging times of change and times of crisis. Again, y'all, thank you so much for watching, for listening, for reading what I write, for supporting me with subscriptions. I just got some new paid subscriptions, and thank you very much to those folks and to all of you. All right, y'all, blessing and good. Be bold, be safe and warm if you're in a place where this ice storm, snowstorm is going to hit. Hold fast, y'all.